didn't put them anywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So I tried to film this video yesterday. Oh, I can't even work a camera, which is actually my phone. But tried to film this video yesterday, and I did it on my GoPro, and I just didn't like the way it looked. It just didn't work out. And my energy was just kind of, maybe it's because I didn't have a haircut in so long. So, I mean, I'll throw a clip of it here. This next one's going to be this is an older one too. This is probably one of my oldest setups, besides the ones I just received. But this is one of my old. So yeah, it just didn't really work out. I didn't like the way it looked. So, but anyways, we're just gonna jump into this video. I'm gonna be showcasing my rods, reels, everything that's on this back wall right here, and reviewing just the Cast King rod organizer wall mount. So let's jump into it. And I also did the giveaway yesterday. I recorded it. So I'll throw it up here. Congratulations to, who was it? I don't even remember. I'll look at it right now. Victor Cruz, congratulations, buddy. You have won the Mystery Tackle Box Pro. This one that we showcased in the last video. And since I put a poll on Instagram and it overwhelmingly yes, you're gonna get a free shirt, buddy. So these shirts that we just came out with, we're making them, as we speak, filling orders and stuff. If you follow me on Instagram, RGV_outdoorsman, you would have seen the post already. But this is the 4th of July one that I made for myself, but it's got this, and it's got that same logo across the back. So you won that free shirt. Just go ahead and DM me on Instagram or Facebook page and let me know some of your information, and I'll work with you to get you your shirt, buddy. And the box as well. So, but let's jump into the video. All right, guys, so behind me is the Cast King with a K, with K's. Cast King rod and reel setup. I got it off of Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description. I believe it was about $24. Don't quote me. But it can hold up to 15 rod holders and 15 rods. I'm sorry, 15 rods. And obviously I don't have that many, but I do have just about every assorted one that I have. These are all the ones in my arsenal. They're all most of them are all hand-me-downs. They're Frankenstein, ones. So it's not, name. There's some name brands in there, but they're mostly all Frankenstein setups. But this thing is really great. This mounts right into the wall. It comes with the screws and all that stuff, drywall screws. And you can even set them up at distance-wise. You could, like this one's higher than the other ones. I know it's kind of hard to see, and you'll see it in the close-ups. But the distance, the height of it's different. That way you can space them out and have them all next to each other. So it's a really great product. I really highly recommend it if you're running out of space for your stuff. You can buy a couple of them, put them right next to each other and put them in a garage, or even buy 2 of them, put them basically set up to where you can put them up sideways on a wall, whatever your creativity is, doesn't matter. But let's go ahead and jump into the first setup. We're just gonna be going from this way to this way, excluding this one. I'll get to these older ones here at the end of the video. But yeah, let's rock into it. All right, guys, so we're gonna do this by style or type of reel and rod. So this one's my first one's just going to be the normal bass setup I have. You guys have seen this all before in all of my videos. I'll have some close-ups of it as well. It's a Shakespeare Ugly Stick GX2 rods, 6'6", medium action. I believe it's the combo, so I'm pretty sure that's the same name as the reel itself. But this casting reel has definitely seen some weather, but it's held true to me so long as I had it. I actually received it from a buddy of mine I was stationed with in San Diego, and we actually just made a straight up trade. I gave him a spinning setup, one of my spinning setups I use at the pier, and he gave me this one because he just had no use for it really. And so I use this for mostly bass fishing. I've used it in saltwater a few times. Caught a couple specks off it with like a swim bait, just like this one I have tied on. That's the last time I used it. But it's, all I've ever done, it's been dunked in the salt water to surf. And all I've ever done is just rinse it off as best I could, and the thing holds just fine. The drag doesn't slip. There's no griminess in the gears or nothing like that. And so I just have it paired up with 20-pound braid and 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. That's basically my go-to for everything you can think of. The only time I go straight braid is when I'm using a frog. Okay, so the next bait caster we got here is a Shakespeare Tidewater. It's kind of hard to see through here, but you'll see the close-ups. It's basically it's a boat rod. It's just a boat rod, and originally purchased this in San Diego because I went on a lot of, I think 4 or 5 hours, 6 hour boat trips that were relatively cheap for San Diego because they don't have to go far. The water's different. But we would just rent our own stuff, rent their stuff. So I figured, hey, I'm gonna get my own setup, and I'll use it. So I went and bought it at the Nexon base in San Diego, and I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't expensive. But it's a solid setup. It's it's a 6'6", medium heavy sturdy stick. Shakespeare sturdy stick is the rod that it's paired with. The Tidewater's paired with. It's got a nice level wind on it. It's got a loud clicker. Not as loud as I would like it to be, but it's relatively loud. But yeah, it's solid right now. I have it on, I believe I got 50-pound mono on there, which I'm probably going to switch out and put some braid on it and then put some 50-pound mono. But the leader is actually I found in Padre Island National Seashore. I found it literally, I think I hooked into it on accident, and then I brought it back in. I brought some of his line in, and this was attached to it. So it's like a fish finder rig. It's got a real bunch of beads on there. It's got a big swivel, and it's real thick. Probably, I would have to venture and say 150-pound braid. I'm sorry, 150-pound mono, and a big old, probably I'd say a 6-aught circle hook, so maybe 7-aught. So I use this mainly for red fishing, mainly for fishing at the beach itself, and I'll just run out the baits with a with the kayaks that I have, and it's usually mainly for shark fishing and going for big redfish or just big stuff at the surf. So this guy, I know I said I was going to talk about these old ones at the very end, but I decided not to. So we're going to go talk about these guys now since it is baitcaster. This is my grandfather's actually. It's a Penn 60 Long Beach. It's very old school. This thing is probably coming up on 50 years old, maybe 40 years old. Still runs really well. It's got a real loud clicker on it. Even like the drag clicker is real loud, so I really like that. But it's just so old. I don't know. I may try to get some use out of it. The braid is, obviously super old, but I'm gonna change that out and see if I can give it a whirl. The rod is really what I'm worried about, but I love the finish on it. I love the wood and the metal, and this thing's fully made of metal for the most part, hard plastic. So I like the cool looking, the knob on it, it's that jade green. So, this is a very old setup. I'm going to try to get some uses out of it, try to make a couple videos with it, probably at the beach. We're going to give it a go, see how it goes. I think this thing can hold up to a couple more casts, but I think it's one of my favorite pieces because it was my grandfather's. Alright guys, so we're going to start running through my spinning setups because that's mostly what I have. The rest of them are all spinning. Those are the only baitcasters I have. But this first one is just a optics. I think it's a Quantum Optics 40. It's probably my oldest reel setup, my oldest rod and reel setup I've used on this channel. This is probably, I think, one of the original setups I used on this channel back to my first video. Right now, I was using it. The last time I used it was I was in Aransas Pass, and we were at a popping cork, and I used this DOA shrimp and was catching some trout with it. But the problem is, I think this reel is about had it. It grinds up a little bit too much, and anytime something pulls on the end of it, it can't fight it anymore. So I'm most likely going to retire this reel. I've used it for a very long time. I use it in San Diego a lot, and it's done its job. And the rod is a ugly stick, 7 foot. I think it's a medium action, medium heavy actually. So I could put something a little bit beefier on this thing and use it still in the surf like I used to. So this is mainly my surf. This is an all-around setup: surf fishing, pier fishing, jetty fishing. Even this is just around all-around setup. Bigger reel would be better for jetty fishing. But let's go ahead and roll to the next one. This setup you guys have seen as well. I've been using it probably more than any other setup that I have right now. It's just this Shakespeare Alpha. It's made for freshwater, I think, and catfish, stuff like that. But I do use it in the surf. It's a 7 foot medium action rod. It's on the Alpha rod as well. This is the only, I think, setup that I have besides the baitcaster and I guess the other baitcaster. But this is the only spinning setup I believe that's actually together. And I think of one more, but the same rod, same reel. But I think this combo runs about $30. It's old, but the thing definitely gets the job done. I use this for just about everything, catfishing. I've even caught some bass on it with the hot dogs. Surf fishing mainly is what I use it for. Right now it's got a double dropper rig like I always have. You guys have seen me always use. And that's the last time I used it, was actually in the, not the surf, I'm sorry, the pier. When I was in that video I was catching on this gaff top. I was using this guy too. You saw mainly the video from my bigger one you'll see next, but this guy was there, definitely getting some use as well. So this is a great all-around pier rod, surf rod, jetty rod, just about everywhere you can take it, freshwater, saltwater. And this guy, you guys know well, it was the main guy, main star on my gaff top video I just posted. This is my saltwater exclusive setup because it's a 10-foot rod. It's a big size reel. I don't know the exact size. I'm still getting familiar with the actual sizes of them, but it's one of the biggest ones you can get. And this thing, and it's actually a hand-me-down. Another hand-me-down. A good buddy of mine gave me this reel. I was stationed with in San Diego, my buddy Clyde. So thanks, brother. He just kind of left it over to me when he moved back to where he's from, and so it's a Hurricane Mako. Interesting name, Hurricane Mako. It's got some you can tell it's I think it was bought at the exchange on base, so it was definitely a cheap setup. But this thing moves and reels just fine for as old as it is, and I've only ever taken it apart once just to add a little oil. This thing is great, and it was sitting in a garage for most of its time too. I want to say I just have, I think it's 20 pound mono I have on there. That's it, quite a bit of it, but it's sitting on a Shakespeare Ugly Stick 10-foot rod, surf rod, that I use just at the surf and at the pier, at like open piers, kind of like how I did at Fin and Feather on my gaff top video. It's a big open pier where there's not a lot of people, where I can really get this thing to, I can cast it well without worrying about who's around me. That's where I use this. Otherwise, it'll be just strictly at the surf. But I really love this setup. This thing can handle, it can handle that big bull black drum, that big ugly, to probably a bull red. I've caught sharks on it too. So this setup is probably one of my favorite, one of my go-tos. Now these two guys here is literally I've just brought brought the reels back from San Antonio when I was up there working. It's a Shakespeare Alpha. It's another Shakespeare Alpha, but this is, I want to say this is an older model than the one I have. And I have it paired up on a Berkeley 7-foot medium rod, 2-piece, and it's got a lot of, it's a fast action rod, so this is a good jetty setup because the reel's a little bit bigger. And then, of course, these are older ones and I need to clean them up, but they still got some good use to them. They still feel really smooth. They reel just fine. This guy is this one's the weird one. It's kind of like an off-brand. It's Roddy Limited Edition RE50. So you can tell it's got some grime on it. It's a little bit smaller than the, well, no, maybe they have the same size. But this one's on a little bit softer rod, a little bit slower action rod. An older rod is the main reason. A 7-foot rod made by Master. And it's Spectra Graphite Composite. So this is definitely an older rod, but I have had some really good use at it. This one I'm mainly going to be using freshwater for catfishing. This other one's going to be probably jetties and surf mainly. I like having different setups for different things. Hey guys, I just want to thank you again for watching this video. I'm at the midway point just about, but if you had any questions on these t-shirts, these RGV Outdoorsman t-shirts that we're making, hit me up on Instagram, RGV_Outdoorsman. All the info is there, my post is there, all the different colorways that we have available, and what you'll need to do to order yourself one. And you can check out my Facebook page as well. But appreciate you guys watching. Get yourself some RGV Outdoorsman merch. Let's keep rolling. Ooh, that's cold coffee. Ooh. All right, y'all. So this setup here is probably my favorite setup as far as my spinning goes. For lighter stuff, medium stuff, is my Cuda fishing setup. It's with the Cuda fishing spinning reel that they have. I can never pronounce the name. I'll have it right here. And I have it paired up on a Legacy rod, and it's the Legacy. It's the H2O Express Legacy that Academy has. And so I think this rod itself was $20, $25, and man, I've never been happier with a rod. It doesn't come apart, so it's always, in line, ready to go, which is the only downside I have of it. But I'm kind of okay with it. It pairs perfectly with this Cuda fishing spinning setup. And this spinning setup, I have nothing but good things to say about it. it can go from, I've caught, you know, 2 or 3 pound bass on it just fine. And then as you saw my redfish catcher cook, this is the one that caught that, you know, slot redfish. And I've caught trout on it. So it definitely is a do anything reel. And I really, really love this thing, and I use it everywhere I can. It's my go-to. If I don't know what to do at a spot, I'll go finesse. And this is like bass fishing wise. And this is where I'll turn to. Okay guys, so this is my normal spinning setups, and it's the an angler rod and reel combo from Academy, and I think this whole thing was $20, and it's a bit smaller. It's a 6-foot rod. Yeah, there's no real action on it, but it's pretty fast. It's a pretty fast action, but very light. Got full spooled up with 20-pound braid. And kind of much, but whatever. But I have a small spinner on it. It's all for my lightweight finesse stuff, panfish fishing. Caught some bass on it. Almost every bass feels good on this, but yeah, it's my smallest setup, and I use this a lot, you know, for pan fishing or worm fishing, bait fishing. I've used it at the surf a couple times. Almost got spooled by ladyfish, so it's definitely not, you know, rated for that. So that's why I don't pull it there anymore. But it's, you know, one of my go-to setups in catching small things, panfish and things like that. Got a small spinner, lightweight finesse stuff. All right, so this is my favorite setup that I have, and I'm never going to use, most likely. It's my grandfather's big surf and jetty setup. It's a old school Daiwa GS90. It's a gold edition. It is dirty. I needed to clean it up. I just brought it back from San Antonio. But this is a very old school reel, rod and reel combo. I believe I dated it, and it was mid to late 70s. So this thing's coming up on 50 years old. It still runs pretty well for as old as it doesn't flow freely as the other ones do, but it does turn well with no griminess, which is kind of surprising. It's just you know, I just like looking at it. It's a good antique. This is most likely not going to get fished with. I'll take off the old line, like this cable or cord looking line. It's crazy how thick braid used to be back then. But yeah, like I love the rod and it's all this, you know, grip and everything, the metal. This first eyelet flips open like that, so it's easier to store. Like, that's bananas. That blows my mind. But it's a 13-foot 3-piece rod, so definitely a surf fishing setup. Olympic surf casting rod, SS 13/3, so 13-foot 3-piece setup. Heavy action, so this is definitely this is a big time, you know, Japanese setup, which I'm all for. But this is most likely gonna go, and look at even the butt of the rod too, looks crazy. But this is definitely gonna go on the wall. Clean it up and put it on the wall so it looks nice. You know, it's my favorite setup that I'm not gonna use. You know, if you guys really want me to use it, then I'll look into it, and I'll take it somewhere to get it service. That way everything's okay. But for right now, I'm just gonna clean it up and put it on the wall so it looks nice in the background. So I'm actually gonna record myself putting all these things back together on the Cast King. Of course, I'm gonna fast forward it, but I'm gonna start putting stuff back together on here. Well, I'd like to thank you guys one more time for watching this video. Thank you all to my 500 plus subscribers. Let's start grinding out to 1,000. Again, if you guys want info on these RGV Outdoorsman merch, these shirts, hit me up on Instagram and the Facebook page as well. All the info is going to be on there. Again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.